Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm bringing you guys the ninth episode of the gameplay series. And as you guys can see, I've got a whole bunch of graves around my base. And I've got my command center outside the walls as part of my new defensive strategy when I'm farming. I'll talk more about that later when I come back from the attacks. We'll just get into that and tell you guys why I'm doing that and if it's working or not. The new clan is doing pretty well. We've got a few people in there now. Still a few spots left, but people have been bouncing in and out, so I'm pretty sure there'll always be space there. We had to put in some new rules because people were kicking each other out, so hopefully that gets settled down soon and people will start behaving. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go ahead and jump into a couple of attacks, even though I have 6 hours of protection left. I have time right now to play, so I'll just go ahead and do that and we'll see how many resources we can collect so that I can come back and start working on some upgrades. Not gonna do that. Alright, this looks like a pretty decent base. We've got about 340 plus resources. Looking at the oil rigs, there should be plenty in there, but there should still be some in those storages in the center. You can see one gold storage and one oil storage have a pretty good amount of resources right there. But still, a good amount should still be in those oil rigs and those gold mines at the bottom. So what I'm going to try to do is my focus here would be on just those resources since there's plenty of them. I did bring a little bit of a different troop strategy. I brought in a few slashers and I also brought in a whole bunch of pyros. For this attack I didn't bring too many riflemen though. So I'm going to see how this works out and I'm going to start dropping in some troops on the outside on some of those rally points at the top and try to pick up some of these free buildings and try to get to at least 1 star while I'm going after those resources. So let's just get started and I'm going to start dropping in my riflemen, pick up some of those barracks, some of those rally points. And once these buildings on the outside are done, I can start dropping in my gunners and then follow those up with some pyros and some slashers maybe. Try and see if I can take some of these defenses down and give my spies and my riflemen basically some room to work on these oil rigs and storages. And the reason you want to keep trying to take those defenses down, or at least try to distract them, is at least the mortars and the flame towers, they can take up a whole bunch of units and they can destroy them in a single shot or maybe even 2 shots depending on the level of your units. So anytime you're trying to drop spies, you definitely want to make sure you take care of those defenses before you start dropping your weaker troops onto the base. I decided to just go ahead and start attacking from the top, and hopefully I can get in through some walls and then drop my spies as well to get to those storages once I'm done. And while that's going on, I can start dropping my spies on the oil rigs because these defenses are distracted while my gunners are taking them down. And the pyros are doing a pretty good job too. They've got a ton of health too, unlike the slashers. Slashers do have a decent amount of health, but unlike the riflemen or the spies, the pyros have a good amount of health and they can take maybe 3 or 4 shots from a mortar and still survive. So at this point I've taken care of most of the base buildings on the top of the base. I don't think I'll be able to get the command center, so I'm not even gonna try to do that. Still got a few gold mines at the bottom, so let's see if we can drop some slashers first because they can take some damage, and then follow that up with the pyros and drop in some spies as well. So as you guys can see, we've got pretty much most of the gold still on the base, which means pretty much all of it should be in that gold storage in the center. And unfortunately, we've got a a flame tower right next to it. So this could be difficult, but I'm gonna try and drop my troops and see if I can get through and collect some more resources. So again, I'm gonna drop the slashers first because they can take some damage. I'm not too worried about the flame tower at this point because they're still out of range of that. So once they're done getting through that wall, maybe they come within range of that flame tower, and that's when I'll start losing my troops. I could have dropped that last wall breaker as well, but as I've said in some of my earlier videos, the AI on these things is so terrible, you never know where they would go. So we ended up getting about 400 and little over 400,000 in resources. So not a bad rate at all to start with, and we can go ahead and move on to the next one. Again, a pretty good looking base. Looking around the base, you see the number of graves. This is basically an indication that the person might not have been back to play or may have quit or something. So one thing that this does indicate is that most likely there will not be any troops in that clan HQ, so that's something you don't have to worry about. As far as the defenses go, we've got a mortar that's outside of the wall, so that's pretty easy to get to. And we've got another mortar on the bottom and on the top left side. So I'm going to try to take care of those so I can start dropping my spies and take care of the resources. Which in this one, looking at the storages and the collectors, most of the resources should be in the collectors itself. And once those area damage units are dealt with, I can start dropping in my spies and my riflemen. This is also this is not a bad base design though. Looking at the main part of the base, he's divided it up into many sections. So anytime you're trying to attack, you would have to go through a whole bunch of walls. So it's better to see if the resources are outside the walls or if they're inside, and it's always better that they be outside. That way you can get to them easier rather than having to break through 10 different walls or sections. And we've got about 2 minutes left to go. 200,000 resources still on the base. I've not started attacking the left side. A lot of oil should still be there. Trying to take care of that gold mine at the top, see if I can get to it. I dropped some riflemen. Try to take care of these barracks and that clan HQ before they can have access to that gold mine. And just looking at the base, I think I can start going ahead and dropping in some of my troops on the left side. I've saved some of my gunners. I did bring in 21, more than I usually do, so hopefully that'll help out. I'll take care of that cannon right there, drop some more troops towards the left corner of that base, and what that'll do is start helping me by distracting those defenses, and then I can start dropping my spies and my riflemen to take care of those oil rigs. So we got about a minute and 10 seconds left. Still over 200,000 resources. Not too worried about time because these spies can just go through these collectors in a second. Alright, we pretty much gotten most of the oil on the base. Still got a good bunch of gold left, and I'm still only at 44%. So what I'm going to try to do is drop in some of my riflemen on some of these easier buildings that are out of range of the defenses, and see if I can at least get to 1 star. Even though at this point I don't really care, especially because we're not in the clan tournament, so we won't be getting any trophies either. But if I can, if I'm close to 50%, I do usually try to drop in some troops and get to that 1 star. So as you guys saw, I took down that builder's hut and I still didn't get any damage in the destructions percentage, which is really sad to see, but hopefully I can take care of these last two collectors on the outside. I've still got 6 riflemen left, and let's see if we can get to, okay, we did get to 52%, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm gonna try and see if I can get some of this gold from this gold mine, but unfortunately I didn't. So we did end up getting about 340,000 in resources, 6 ratings from that 1 star, which is great. And we can go on and head over back to base and talk about some of the upgrades I could possibly do. I do have 2 workers free. Another one should be freeing up from clearing up that tree on the left. So I'll have about 3 million in gold and another million in oil to work with. So as I spoke about in some of my earlier videos, I do want to start focusing on the walls, try and get them up to level 6 and 7 before I start upgrading to command center level 8, and also start working on the Blackhawks. But as you guys saw, my oil storage can only hold up to 1.5 million, and that's definitely going to be something I want to start working on, so I can get it up to beyond 2 million, so I can start unlocking that basically collect enough oil to start unlocking that Blackhawk. So now that is done. I've got another couple of workers left, so see if I can do some walls and maybe a defensive building or two. As I was talking about the command center being outside my walls earlier, this is a good defensive strategy you guys can employ if you guys wish to. The reason I'm doing this is anytime you are farming and you're collecting resources, you might not be playing all day, so you might be away from the game and you might get attacked. So at that point, it's good to have a protection. So by leaving that command center outside, oftentimes what happens is people just going after ratings would come into my base and attack that command center, and that's it. Move on from that. They don't go and bother about the rest of my base. So it really helps out because I do keep getting free protection from that every time someone attacks my base and just goes after the command center. That way my resources are still in the center and nobody is able to touch them for at least 10-12 hours or whatever, however long that protection lasts. So I went ahead and started working on that mortar as well. So we already got one mortar leveled up. So after this one, we'll only have one more left to go. So maybe I'll just go ahead and do that. I've got about 898, so that means I need about 1200 more gold to do that. And what I did was I went ahead and waited for that for my gold mines to give me that gold. No point in going into another attack at this point. So once I do have that 900,000 in gold, I can go ahead and start attacking that, upgrading that mortar. So this is what I was talking about, just looking at my defensive log. Most of these people just come into base and attack my command center. As you guys could see, I didn't lose too much of resources. Most of the attacks would just cost me about 2, 3, or 5,000. There were a couple that where I lost 30,000 in gold, which is really nothing at this point. And anytime I get that extra protection, it really helps basically save my resources within my base and those storages. So hopefully we should be getting the rest of the gold, and we can start upgrading the mortar, and that'll pretty much do it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. Do let me know if you guys try out the command center as a defensive strategy, and let me know how that works out for you guys and if it did or not. Alright, so I've got enough gold to start working on that second mortar, and that'll pretty much do it for this episode. I hope you guys did enjoy watching it. Make sure to leave a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one.